to stay ahead of the curve in today's competitive BFSI market, banking CIOs need to undertake front-to-back digital transformations. How do you see the changing role of a banking CIO?
And I think it's very pertinent to the environment that we are all in. If you look at it today, CIOs need to understand the technology aspects of the story for sure. But more importantly, CIOs need to be uh, as collaborators and enablers with the business and understanding how a business would need to either source its business or deliver its services business. I think these two are very important. And in doing so, it's about understanding as to how the business strategy and hence each of the business lines within it are having their expansions planned out. Once a CIO understands a business strategy, being a partner to enable the growth strategy as well as or the risk part of the story or the data governance part of the story, that's where the CIO plays a very pivotal role in terms of creating those enablers and making sure that teams are collaborating first. Two, the teams are also measuring how effective what they are putting on the table is going to be to help the business in its story. I think, and so which means that every CIO should not just be a pure technologist, but a CIO need to be a business technologist, which essentially are focused on business KPIs and enabling those KPIs to be achieved, whilst also obviously managing some of the key availabilities and data KPIs that are imperative to any organization's framework. I think that's an evolving role. So which means I would break it up into a strategy, alignment to strategy, alignment to an execution plan to help the growth, and more importantly, managing the risk framework for the bank in terms of availability, confidentiality of the information, and the data governance. So to me, these four are very critical. So whatever the CIO builds an organization has to be around some of these themes in terms of their own leadership and the quality and the competency of the people that they really bring to the table. That's very critical. That's what I would bring onto the table.
How are you driving the end-to-end digital transformation for Yes Bank?
I would say that it's a great team effort with fantastic guidance from the executive management that has essentially and the support of the board that we've really come together well. However, it obviously sets us on the path of acceleration ahead. Now, to do that the spends that we're doing around the digital and the digitization is very critical. And for us, to me, there are 3 or 4 themes that I'm really looking to put out here, which is very pivotal for us as we start our next journey. A is productization of our API stack. Now, we have always been known in the industry to be a digital bank doing a huge number of payment transactions. 1 in every 3 transactions flows through our rails. So it's all about how we engage with our partners and the merchant ecosystem. So for that, very important is to productize my APIs. 2 is about in terms of enabling the acquisition journeys, which means that as we grow, as we acquire more customers, as we acquire customers across various channels and products, it is very important for us to create those experiences for the onboarding and service capabilities. Towards that, there is an entire team that is focused in terms of unifying our journeys while also creating less friction and also making sure that the customers, the segmentation for customer experiences are essentially being well thought out and being presented, which means the young generation will have a different expectation, the older generation will have a very different expectations, and folks in between 40 to 50 have their own viewpoints, 60 will have their own viewpoints to it. So it's about how you really cater to these demands and how do you really position it. So that is the digital onboarding and the service story. So API digital onboarding. The other part is around the entire data and the data governance. because today the data plays a very important role. Given the kind of data that we have, it is about how we can use the data for analytics, which supports the internal management decision making, which supports the ability for us to cross sell and upsell, and more importantly to give the right advice to our customers. For example, if a customer is visiting some of our partner sites, do we really be a part of his journey to be able to say, hey, you have an Yes Bank account. Is there a possibility for us to be able to give you a personal loan that is pre-approved or an auto loan that is pre-approved? Can we make your buying experience more seamless? And hence, possibly help the customer through that whole uh, his whole process in terms of his thoughts to reality. So it's not that you do any just a mailing, a mass target message. It's not going to help. That you getting 10 calls in a day for an auto loan is not going to help. Rather say, you know what, you've been very keen on this particular, you visited this card, you've taken 2 times, you've taken a trial. Do we collaborate with those partners and say, no, I'm going to, in your net banking or a mobile banking, is there an opportunity for us to validate the customer's balances with us and his scores and say, you get a pre-approved, come on, take it. You say, yes, I'm going to talk to the dealer, and being able to do a much more better seamless, which means your buying experience is seamless, it's quick, and you're in today's time when car availability is a bit of an issue, it's going to be faster. So that's what we're really working towards on that, on the next aspect of data. Last but not the least is about risk and sustainability. Now, while we do all this in terms of digitization, it's about, more importantly, about the risk governance around. Today, transactions, unlike in the past where checks used to take 2 days to clear, 1 day to clear, today transactions are quite instantaneous, right? Or near real time. In that, and we should not give a failed experience or some high risk incorrect experiences. So we have to have the right kinds of checks and balances in terms of the integration to our fraud and risk control systems, and more importantly, make sure that we have the right frameworks associated in dealing with the digital explosion. So that is another big area that we're really working to support the digital journeys, to support the new growth areas, because that's very, very critical. Banks have to understand it, assimilate what they need to do, and start the execution in those spaces. And more importantly, as we do all of this, is a digitization. You can create great digital front ends, but at the end of the day, if you're dropping everything onto a floor and expecting these back office operations to data enter, make it, frankly, you're defeating the purpose, right? They're defeating the purpose of doing all of that. So we are also now working on a large program with an intent to do zero ops. But zero ops means that you actually are doing a lot of straight through processing and making sure that you are improving the customer experience, not by just he or she what they see, but about what they get. And that is very important. So we're doing, so these are some four or five themes that we are working towards. And in doing so, we are also building our teams. We are also looking to build our team capabilities, that talent pool that is there, which essentially will align to this growth. So those are probably the 5 areas that I believe is very critical, and we are working in those along with, as a part of my this year financial year's progress.
Managing data security and customer privacy is one of the primary concerns for banking CIOs. How do you propose to allay these concerns?
Whatever we do is governed under 3 key axioms, as I call it. It's the confidentiality, integrity, and availability, right? Availability is very important for a bank from a service enablement and sustainability perspective. Integrity is, obviously, we deal with money. At the end of the day, any bank deals with money either from its customers, on behalf of its customers, or what it gets from the customers by virtue of loans that it pays or it extends. Now, for us, integrity of its transactions, integrity of what it does is very, very important. The third part is confidentiality. And this comes down to, so every piece of data, customer information, financial transaction information, we have very, very sharp laser focus In terms of defining the confidentiality and how we protect the data. No, that is very, very important. No, it's not just about what we keep the data in our records, but about the whole framework, about how the whole ecosystem is protected and how secure are we not just storing, but how are we presenting it to any customers, either through the API or through our channels, everything. So there is security everywhere. And this security works on a core principle of trust. And we call it zero trust, which means that everything has to be properly managed, everything has to be properly these things, such that the customer gets a trusted transaction. When you do a zero trust, the customer gets a trusted view. That is most important. That's how we really go about it. Again, thanks to some of the regulatory oversights, very intensive regulatory oversights, and the fact that the banks security team as well as risk teams, they make sure that they are let the second and the third line of defense are pretty sharp and laser focused in terms of ensuring that we operate within certain identified prescribed boundary conditions. So yes, of primary importance is the data and the confidentiality of the data, either in rest or when it is accessed. And last but not the least is ensuring the trust of the client, which is done by a zero trust approach from a security perspective.
How do you see the future of banking with regard to adoption of new technologies? What is the future roadmap for Yes Bank?
I'll answer the first question, the last question first. I think Yes Bank obviously is looking at it as a great opportunity for us, because we have a solid base in terms of how we have engaged with the merchants. If you keep aside the blip that we've had over in the past, I think we are now on a good journey. So our focus is around creating the digital journeys far more experiential, looking at new avenues to tap. And last but not the least is about tapping partners for expansion. Expansion into two parts. One is expansion by virtue of expanding our business horizons, and two, expansion by enhancing our product propositions through into partners who probably bring those adjunct services into one common solution to our customers, right? So today, if you look at it, as an individual customer, you log into a net banking of a bank to say, I want to only send money, I want to do a standing instruction, or maybe a couple of other your own specific services. If a bank is able to provide you, say, a service like, say, upload your statements and your salary income statements through this integration of ours with, say, ClearTax, and we are able to provide you a quick view. And at the end of the day, if you have to pay additional tax, I directly debit your account and I will give you a statement. And that statement basis of that will give you sort of peace of mind to say, here is my bank who's going beyond just financials, but being able to help me with one of the areas that I possibly don't have expertise, right? Would be great. Now, if you put in a question to say, I'm not sure which car I need to buy, the bank is coming in to say, I have 10 partners listed into it. I have some good deals going around for this. You probably have pre-approved loans of so much. What would you like? If you want, we will probably have integrations to be able to expand it. So these are some new things that we're talking to partners, enhancing our digital play, not just by doing an online banking, but by probably expanding our partner ecosystem, not only for retail customers, but for MSME customers or corporate customers. Only the flavor will change, for sure. The flavor will change of what you provide. No. So those are some things that we're really working towards. And uniqueness is what we are trying to provide. We cannot be always doing everything that everyone does, but we need to choose a path. I think there's a good business strategy in play, and confident that we now will make it happen in the next year and onwards.